The title of our next presentation is Living with Cancer, Life and Journey of Renee Richards, through the lens of a child and spouse. The next speaker is a young lady whose love for her mother knows no bounds. She has lived her life following her mother's footsteps as she journeyed with the diagnosis of advanced breast cancer from her birth to the recent passing of her mom. Her mom is none other than our most loved Renee Richards. The love of her daughter enabled Renee to fight for over a decade with this diagnosis. During her life, she has demonstrated the value of time. Every minute and every second is a gift that deserves the utmost value and should be cherished. She had an amazing heart and left a legacy that we see in the form of Eva. Even though Eva is only 12, she has the wisdom and fortitude of a grown-up. Renee has taught her many of life's lessons in the limited time she has had with her.
And if Eva was Renee's darling, Jason was the love of her life. He has been the pillar of strength for both Renee and Eva. His sacrifices are the untold story of Renee. His show of strength is a facade to a tender and loving heart that loved Renee. To honor her, he wished to speak at this event. Jason has agreed to give this address on Renee's behalf. He is a Sergeant First Class in the Army since 1995. He has deployed multiple times for combat. He has earned many commendations, including the Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medals, and Australian Parachute Badge, to include many others. We welcome Eva and Jason.
Good evening. Before I begin, I would like to thank the many doctors that worked hard to care for my mother. First, Dr. Godino and his nurse, Dawn, Dr. Streck, Dr. Magnat, Dr. Livesey, and Dr. Kimberly Blackwell, and all the others over the years. Thank you for taking great care of my mom. My mother is my inspiration. She always made sure that I was prepared for everything, be it soccer, school, a vacation, even her eventual passing. When I found out my mom had cancer, I felt sad. I didn't really know what cancer was, and my mother explained it to me in a way that I could understand. After that, I felt better about my mom being sick. I was still very sad, but now I knew that everything was going on with my mom, and she made it sound less scary and everything would be okay. As time went on, my father made sure that living with a parent that has cancer wasn't as bad as I had thought it would be. It still wasn't fun, and I had days when I was sad, but my mom would always work hard to ensure cancer didn't change our lives. We would take cruises, go for the weekend to my grandparents, and plan trips. There are 2 trips that I'm really glad I got to do with my mom. We went to Paris for my 9th birthday. It was amazing. I know that was a trip that my mom really wanted to take me on. I never forgot sitting on the lawn in front of the Eiffel Tower and eating crepes with my mom and dad. After Paris, we made a plan to go to Hawaii the next summer. Again, this was an amazing trip, an experience to enjoy with my mom. We paddleboarded almost every morning, explored the other beautiful beaches in the afternoon, had amazing dinners at night. The night we went to a luau was my favorite dinner of the trip. There's one night that is especially special to me. I'll never forget it. My father had to leave a day earlier than my mom and I, so it was just Mom and me for 4th of July. We stayed at a resort that is just for military families, so that night there were fireworks over the water and music. I will never forget having that moment alone with my mom. Having lived the majority of my life with a parent battling cancer, I feel it is important for other children like me to be strong and understand the fight that our parents are going through. It's okay to be sad, to get mad, and to wonder what the future will hold. What is not okay is to just stop living and experience your life. You have to keep going, keep fighting, and never give up. I want everyone to know that having a parent with cancer is hard, but it's an opportunity to grow as a person. You can either let it control you, or you can control your own life. I have chosen to control it and not let it hold me back. With the help of my friends, family, and my dad, I know it will be all okay, and I will continue to thrive. My mother will always live on in me, and therefore I am thankful. Thank you, and please make sure the people in your life that you love know it. My mom always made sure I know that she loved me more than anything and always will.
Good evening. I'd like to tell you that I'm going to make it through this with hope. I'm getting emotional, but it's not going to happen. So just please bear with me. First, Dr. Gadina, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on Renee's behalf. For those of you who don't know, Renee just passed a couple weeks ago. It's been maybe 3 weeks. She was actually going to be the one to speak here tonight, but obviously she won't be. When Dr. Gadina actually asked me to do this, I'm not going to lie, he kind of ambushed me. But that's a story for another night. But for those of you who know him, he's a hard man to say no to. Not because of any other reason other than he's going to do everything he can for you. So you want to do everything you can for him. God. All right. Dr. Gadina and Dawn, seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough. All right? It was a lot of years that you guys worked really hard and give all the effort you could to take care of Renee for all these years. It's because of you two and the other ones, Dr. Manning, Dr. Mangernaut, and the other doctors that aren't here tonight, that you've actually allowed Eva and I to have time to go on trips and to accomplish things we needed to, and for Eva to know her mother. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for the difference you've made in our lives. Thank you. So I didn't want to just sit up here and tell you about my wife. That's more of a eulogy. So Dr. Gadina and I kind of talked, and so what I'm going to do tonight, if you allow me, is I'm going to tell you about instances that Renee made a difference in people's lives. The first person I want to talk about, some of you may know her, it's Lori Gerhardt. She had cancer herself, and Renee, they didn't even know each other, but Renee found out she worked for her husband, Dr. Gerhardt, and Renee actually literally went through the maze at his Cone Hospital and hunted her down and made sure she knew her and found out about her. Since then, Lori and Renee have been very close friends. Their friendship was born from the mutual love of one another and the hatred of cancer. I've spoken to Lori many times over the years, whenever she stopped by to check on Renee, Ava, or I, and the one thing she always would say to me is, Jason, it's just amazing how no matter how sick Renee is, she's always there to ask about me and tries not to talk about herself the most. All she ever wants to do is talk about you and find out how you're doing, and she never cared about herself. So a few years ago, Dr. Gerhardt and Lori actually invited Renee and I to go to the earlier.org dinner. And it was at that moment that I really found out and noticed how much my wife had made a difference in Lori's life, just by the way they opened up their hearts to us and invited us to that special moment with them. Next person I want to talk about is a woman named Holly Butler. Renee and her met in college in 1996 at NC State, By the time I actually met my wife, her and Holly were already very close friends. I can remember early on in our relationship how Holly and Renee would quote the movie Shag. Julie, you know what I'm talking about. And they just wanted to make sure that I knew that they were all friends and they were together, and no matter what, as they would say, the Yankee boy wasn't going to come down and get in the middle of their fun. All right? Yeah. So when Renee was first diagnosed in 2003 with breast cancer, Holly was one of the many friends that stood by her side. To this day, I can remember Renee, Holly, and I walking into the cancer center. All three of us, 24 years old. We had no clue what we were getting into. You know, we were kids, literally. And there was a lot of patients there that weren't actually, safe to say that there were a few other patients that didn't appreciate our youthful exuberance that we brought to dealing with chemotherapy. I'm telling you this not because I'm trying to make you sad that my wife had cancer for the first time at 24. I'm telling you this because the first day, that first year, and that friendship has made a change in Holly's life. Holly now works as a medical social worker at Buddy Kemp Cancer Support Center. After Renee passed, Holly and I have spoken often, and she's related to me exactly how Renee made a difference in her life and helped her career. Holly uses the way Renee attacked living with cancer head on and uses the knowledge, emotions, and understanding to help her patients and staff understand how they can better assist and make people undergoing chemotherapy feel better and not feel like a patient or a charity case. It is through conversations with Renee that Holly has learned it's okay to not give empty compliments, that sometimes you just have to tell them the hard truth because they need to know it for themselves, or they already know it and they don't want to hear, pardon my French, but some bullshit. One of life's horrible little ironies, Holly herself has had to deal with breast cancer in her family. Her mother was diagnosed, is good to go now, but her younger sister is actually battling cancer right now. The prognosis is good, but it's a fight that will continue for many years to come, and she'll have to deal with it for the rest of her life. But the knowledge that my wife, Renee, has empowered on Holly, once again has made a difference for Holly on accepting and dealing with her sister being sick. The next person I'd like to talk about how my wife made a difference in her life is a woman named Megan Davis. She is part of the Canterbury family. So Megan is presently battling cancer herself. The first time she was diagnosed, she beat cancer like a lot of people do. You do what doctors say, and it goes away, and it's great. But unfortunately, too many times, her cancer's come back. This time, it's not good at all. So once again, Renee reached out to Megan. They already knew each other, but they really reached out. And they developed a bond that only those that have been there will ever truly understand. I know from being part of that family that they've talked about wanting to see their kids grow, going on more trips together, have as much time possible with their friends and their family. They had made plans to go eat cheesecake because, really, why not? If you got cancer, who cares about eating some cheesecake? In the end, this friendship was cut short, but not before Renee made sure that Megan knew that it'll be okay, that she needs to keep fighting, that she needs to never give up, and that the cure is around the corner, and that she will see her children grow. The last person I want to talk about is my daughter. Ever since our daughter was born, Renee instilled in her the strength, determination, and the will to fight. There was not a day that went by where Renee didn't just tell her how to live. She showed her by never giving up. I'm thankful that Eva knew her mother and that Renee will live on and continue forever, and my daughter. Thank you.